Okay.
Sebastian, thank you very much for joining the Integral podcast, where we discuss topics about integration. Certainly things like philosophy, software come into play. Basically, the entire universe is our oyster. But first, because since this is like first time we're chatting like this, please tell us all, and me, tell us, who are you, you know?
Well, that's something that I've been asking myself very, very much. And if I could give like an identity that would match that, you know, if there's such a word for these kind of people, I don't know, maybe philosopher. I don't have the education um, from any sort of authority or anything, but there's the internet, there's the ski hub, and well, the world is our oyster. So currently, I'm the president of the Finnish pirate, this local domain of Finnish Pirate Party in southwestern Finland, and I'm a software developer. I was in Warrantify and Bittiraha or Prasos all in Finland a while back, but now I've been basically doing my own projects for a little while now and finding out what it is to be human.
So before we get on to what it is to be human, what's it like being a pirate these days?
Well, let's just say that I kind of feel like this warning approach that I have been taking for some time is not probably the most successful one, because as you know, if you will look like this world what it is right now, and how much of it is all those things that I've been or we've been warning about, the semantic technology, manipulation of people's desires, and like automation of human will, basically.
And manipulation, systemic and programmatic manipulation of human psychology.
Yeah,
How does that make you feel?
it makes me feel shit, but thank God I learned to unsubscribe myself from the stream that is Facebook.
Okay, interesting,
and
interesting.
and of course there are other streams which kind of basically creeps into your mind slowly over time. For example, television is one of these things, and even though there are great shows there, and I watch some shows myself, but the TV model where everything is being like chewed and dumped down so much that people who watch these things, I don't think they can even have a very good chance of understanding the world when it's being so simplified and so like manufactured. I haven't been watching TV since I've been 18. I'm 38 now.
So one of the things I've been thinking about is you're basically the same age as I am. I'm 39, just clocked over into 39. And we grew up at the time when Tom and Jerry cartoons were extremely popular. At my time, I remember like looking forward to watching some Tom and Jerry cartoons.
Yeah,
And
okay.
when you think about that, what that's done is that it created this very short loops of chase, okay?
Mm.
Yeah, and it's constantly keeps the mind occupied as to, will Tom catch Jerry? And what's the trap that Jerry is going to set up for Tom, and so on. So I had about 10 minutes of that per day when I was growing up. But now every single system does that non-stop everywhere, and you can't really shut it off.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you experience this new reality, that we're living in? What's it doing to your mind?
It basically, well, as your attention basically is grabbed automatically from like now. It's repetition. It basically, well, what are you gonna be able to concentrate on for like longer durations of time when the format of the things that you've used to is like, Wile E. Coyote stuff.
What's
Yeah.
your current attention span? Like, has your attention span gone down or remain roughly the same? What would you see as good attention span these days for yourself?
Well, it's kind of a difficult question because, uh, well, let's say before I started making notes, the world was very, very different. And I've been like, I kind of woke up a few years ago uh, and I realized that I wasn't really collecting any sort of like self knowledge. I wasn't using all the tools that I've learned in my profession for myself. I was using it for the company and everybody else, but not
Ah,
myself.
yeah. Oh, I got to that sudden awakening into that. Like, oh my God, I've built so many successful systems and designed so many successful systems for clients, and
Yeah,
my personal life system is all over the place. Oh God.
exactly. So before I started making notes, I think, well, I was really like super stressed. Everything was just, blown up basically. And to be honest, I felt really scared. I was I was scared that I was faking everything. I wasn't like, prepared for the things that were bestowed upon me. And well, in the end, I kind of like self-destructed there for a while. But after like isolating myself for good while, thinking over things, writing down everything that I thought that, and the next consciousness that is being like initialized from the brain that I use now should like then that brain should have like better knowledge, or at least better like quality knowledge. So before that, my attention span was like, well, not very long, but now I might jump from thing to thing, but I do tend to return to the subject that matter. I feel it's longer, but it's kind of more complex.
So, I don't know if you know this, but men's brains reach full level of maturity around the age of 34 or 35, where both left and right lobes, right, sides of the brain start kind of merging together. And we start asking ourselves a question at that point in time in our lifetimes: what the F is the purpose of life? And at that point, either that's why you see a lot of guys commit suicide, because they don't find the answer to that question. And then the ones that do find the answer to that question, they kind of flower, and open up and actually start thinking at the next level of meaning making, and really kind of focus on themselves a lot more as the kind of first principle. Uh, so, tell me, like, what happened to you around the age of 34, 35?
Well, what's it, 4 years ago? 4 years ago, approximately, uh, I was being a developer at a Bitcoin startup and doing everything basically, and forgetting myself. So there's that. I think it's when you forget yourself in like doing stuff, then you start having these cumulative effects of not paying attention to something. So it it's probably that. And also the doctor said that my thinking is very logical. So I read into that at that time, and I started playing more music to like interface these
Yeah.
both hemispheres better together.
So even though music was created by a mathematician.
Well, yeah, well, it's math, it's vibrations, it's harmonics, all the same stuff that mathematics that is found in a flower is found in music.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you ever think about like where you see yourself in 38 years time?
38 years from now. What? How? Did you say
Yeah.
third?
Yeah.
So double the span from
In next lifetime from now.
yeah. Wow, that's a long time. Hopefully, I'm wherever I'm needed, and hopefully, I have enough PQQ and Q10 for my mitochondria. Hopefully, I have the ability to stay calm and persevere in any sort of situation that life provides me, and I'm going to make sure that I have the people to then to share this whatever
So
things we're doing.
so what is preoccupying majority of your time these days? Are you still working in Bitcoin, blockchain, or is it politics? How do you spend your time?
Well, it's kind of a mix. Basically, I'm on Twitter trying to not annoy people, but to deliver some you know understanding about the things that are to come or are happening right now. And then I use some of my time for projects like this yeah, voice control system, for example. I'm developing, and yeah, I think most of my development time is going now to the kind of like technologies that could basically be a kind of backup subconscious for a person. That's kind of the way, or like becoming the using agent 57 to become agent 43, or that kind of stuff
Okay. Okay.
to interface with the human in the most natural way, finding everything that our research from user experience interfaces, attention, um, well, everything that I can find in my hands, and everything or we know, the humanity. Every time you go and Google some, idea that you thought, oh, this might be interesting. Oh, it's already, 4 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, somebody recently said, whenever I think I have a new idea, I find that I'm about 400 years too late. And that span of how late I am to it just gets shorter and shorter over time. But
Yeah,
so what do you see coming, let's say, in next few years? What is coming our way?
empathic machines, and with that, empathic people.
Hmm.
I think
Interesting.
I think we this system of shoveling money to the capitalistic system that is very well had that has very well, kept us alive, but then, caused some serious suffering. That we should like. Sorry, what was the question? This was the
What's
attention
coming? What's
span thing.
coming? Yeah, what's coming in next bunch of years, 2-3 years,
Next,
let's say.
yeah. So what's coming is brain-computer interfaces are developing even more. Telepathy will be possible, and well, to my understanding, people who could be living even more than 300 years have likely been born already. So we have like, what we can fix, lengthen telomeres, we can, create stem cells, we can flush senescent cells, we can maintain mitochondria for a bigger while, but all these are, fun and cool, but if we only look at the body and only maintain the body, there's going to be a lot of suicide. So
Yeah.
we
Mm.
gotta kind of like find our way to the church of an eternal mind, which is a mind that is capable of, living 300 years without killing itself.
So, what are you? Are you a fan or proponent of transhumanism? What's your take on that?
I am very much for it. Yes.
So, talk to me a little bit more about, like, are you one of those people that would love to live forever or extend your life until the point where you want to end it or something like that?
Well, I don't believe in living forever, but living for now would be great too. So it's such a waste, to see such short spans of learning and then poof. And then we're all, every, generation basically then, drops back to the Stone Age, and then we're like bickering amongst ourselves with these same problems like forever. And it's just, I mean, we should be able to learn better. We have cognition, emotion, metacognition, meta emotion. It's not like these things should not be impossible.
So, what's the kind of most fascinating thing you see happening in the IT world?
Hmm, good question. Well, machine learning, of course. And well, let's see. I have a stack of research I've been, you know, collecting recently. So I don't know. Let's just say that here are a few of my favorite papers. Dynamics on expanding spaces, modeling the emergence of novelties. This is a 3-year-old research, which basically, well, goes into a bit of detail on, how do we people, how do humans invent things, basically? How how do we approach the, the edge of our understanding, and how we're then able to, predictably find some sort of new things that weren't could not be seen before. Then there's geodesic discrete global grid systems. Uber has been doing very interesting research in mapping the Earth in a hexagonal pattern kind of way, which produces an interesting uh, kind of like a playfield for a machine learning system to be able to learn to predict very well uh, the correlations between the spatial coordinates and then whatever things that are being observed. And then there's well, um, a few good agents, multi-agent social learning. These things are being developed further and further, and DeepMind has been doing very interesting research on that. I can't remember the name of the thing, but basically they developed a adversarial system where a few agents were basically hiding and then seeking, and they were developing such a diverse set of strategies and very human-like behavior, and that was very interesting to see. And then when we apply this to physical machines and systems that can interact with a human or observe human movements and for example intervene in situations where you might, for example, need to redirect your attention to something that you missed or whatever. That could be really cool. So kind of like uh, not a secretary, but I think we should be like making these machine learning systems into that direction, that we should first expect that we are very, very silly and stupid or little, brainy, creatures, but then we need a babysitter, and hopefully it won't be connected to the cloud and monitored by everyone, because then people won't be adopting these things, because they'll be so freaked out just by the idea of everyone being able to like possibly to look into their goofy life, whatever. So but
So what?
technologically, deep
Mm,
learning, yeah,
uh,
deep learning
what
and
about
human
what?
emotion.
Yeah, what about all the crypto and blockchain stuff? What are you seeing there happening? Is that like died out in your
No, no,
view,
no, no, it
or
hasn't died out. No,
what?
no.
What is the main thing happening in blockchain space these days, in your opinion?
In my opinion, it's just basically sitting there ready to be interfaced into. And once we get IoT devices that actually have the requirement of making monetary transactions to each other, or monetary transactions between IoT devices and people to deliver real-time services, for example, are they going to be using banks? I don't think so. That's unpredictable. You have to have humans, watching these things that interact with banks, and it just doesn't work with blockchain systems and like automatically enforceable contracts and Bitcoin Lightning channel, for example. You can just open a transaction channel with some entity that you're you know buying services from, for example watching streaming video. You could pay by the second, and that's already available. So I think the instead of looking at the monetary thing, we should now be looking into the things that are valuable, the work and the connecting of people, and then using that tool, which is the stream of value thing. you know
Streams of value as a thing. Um, so, talk to me a little bit about philosophy of software. What is like? There seems to be more and more software produced these days, but much of that software doesn't get adopted. And one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, and my profession is user experience design, but then I'm also into mindset coaching, all that kind of stuff. And it seems to be that time is a limited resource. There's only so much time. If there's 8 billion people on the planet, there's 24 hours times 8 billion per day of hours available. And so with more and more software wanting our time, like how do we, like how much software is really needed on this planet? There's so many, like even blockchain systems that have been built, and you're saying it's just waiting to be used, but it might only get used by machines, not by people. And if it's getting used by machines and not by people, like what is the point of all of this that we're doing?
I'd say that the point is to separate ourselves from the kind of attention, seeking and grabbing and attention stealing systems, so that we should be thinking more like a firewall. So we have technology
Interesting.
that acts as a proxy to other technology. For example, matrix communication system. If you don't want to be checking your Twitter and Facebook and this and that and that all the time, you can interface them all into matrix and then just use matrix as your communication channel to be in contact with all those other channels. And then this kind of thinking also with all these zillions of applications, it they gotta start interfacing into systems that we can actually control.
But let's say in respect to crypto, with thousands and thousands of currencies, and each one of those systems running on top of slightly different rule set, right? The reason why people have built a different blockchain from Bitcoin is because of the rule set that underpins it. So here I'm able to have, let's say, um, encrypted slash anonymous transactions, whereas on Bitcoin blockchain, I can't do that. So for that particular reason, I'm building a new blockchain, or another one is for legal transaction, all that kind of stuff. So all these systems require humans to have an ID account, their not like knowledge and understanding on how this works. Which one should I? Yeah, I want to buy some coffee with crypto. Oh, I got to use a streaming wallet. Like I can't even remember. Like even I can't
Yeah.
remember what's the non on chain Bitcoin version, right? And that's just Bitcoin itself. And then it's like, oh god, like, so what am I supposed to do? Like,
Mhm.
how do I know what am I supposed to do? What's the best thing for me to do with regards to technology?
Let's say that I haven't been actually watching the crypto field for a little while now, very actively. So, but I do. This has always kind of been the question that how. So basically, I don't know. My thinking is that we just gotta start thinking about the system which acts between us and the entire world. Then we should imbue that system with the capability of transacting with any kind of value system. And from that point of view, then when once we get these kind of systems existing, they can be pretty ubiquitous, and you don't have to be thinking about how you do it. It just it just is there. You just say send half a Bitcoin to Bob. Thank you very much, and bye.
It always strikes me as incredibly unusual that it doesn't seem to be, or to the best of my knowledge, is not really possible with, for example, Bitcoin blockchain.
How so?
So that I can send you some Bitcoin through a username type interface.
Well, there was CoinTip, for example. Isn't it like doesn't it should exist still? On Twitter, for example, it was it's been a system where you can basically tip
Cash
anyone.
app. Is it Cash app?
CoinTip is shut down April 30, 2020.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, they're gonna be up somehow, somewhere, but well, this is the way of things today.
So we have this kind of world in which technology springs up. People
They're
maybe
fighting this.
yeah, so technology springs up, people take it up, and it's like, great, I've got my Bitcoin username, blah blah blah, and then the system breaks down, and then what?
Then we then there's the
That's a
guy
great example. That's a
yeah
great example of that intermediary system that you
uh,
just kind of spoke about. It's like, oh, we just kind of delegate all the complexity to this thing here. When
yeah
when that thing drops, we're
yeah
then in like this kind of nebulous space. Like, what now? It's a bit like if
yeah.
electricity runs out, and it's like, how do I boil some water? It's like, I
What
don't
now?
know. Yeah,
We do a capability adjustment. So
capability reassessment.
yeah, or well, if we look at it from the capability as a system, you know, approach, if we take that and we look at there's the cost project, they have this interesting model, meta model, where they were basically making it describing how you can look at all your key performance indicators, everything that's going on in your business, and then how you can quickly, you know, for example, deliver different kind of patterns. If you run out of this, then switch to this and whatever. So I think that's the capability as a service model is very useful in this sense that if we just develop enough, you know, replaceable modules that we can just get rid of if they don't work and adopt new ones if they are available, then as long as we have standard interfaces, which can be like just put together like Lego, we're okay. And I think Minecraft is a nice example of that. Like you can install apps to your like open source AI by saying install this app. How
Mm.
relaxing. Or
Yeah,
maybe
it's just,
not.
um,
It needs some authentication too, but
yeah.
yeah.
So I was active contributor to HTML5 standard, web standard, and a bunch of other web standards around XML and things like that. And again, with web standards, things became also quite, people disagree. No, I don't want to do it that way. No, this is more logical. No, I prefer this, or we
Mm,
want it this way, and so on. So to agree a standard took a long time for HTML5, and then it kind of wasn't, it's sort of like a loose standard. Um,
mm,
and then it still was missing stuff. And I think I've never heard anyone mention, maybe I have, but I've forgotten now, HTML6. Like there is no more. Like that's
what?
it, or that's not a thing. But maybe it should be a thing. I'm not sure. But I see, like in my experience, web development. One of the reasons why I got out of web development, I used to do as full-time job, is because to build a web page used to be a thing that you just open a text editor, you write some HTML, CSS code, and you upload it to the server and it runs.
Mm,
Nowadays, to build a web page requires about 35 different packages, web technologies, deployment tooling, uh, compiling scripts, backbone
mm.
rendering, uh, kernels, whatever, right? And it's
Cursing
like,
with requirements.
yeah, and it's like, and what have I built? I built this little widget here on the side that 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 does nothing of real value, I can interact with the widget and maybe it brings some data back, but it's not actually useful on its own because it needs to be on the page with a bunch of other widgets and so on,
which
which
update constantly and
yeah,
break everything.
and break everything, and actually to make those two widgets interact with each other in a way that you want is actually jumping through massive, like, burning circles, right? And so I just gave up. I was like, this stuff should and must be much easier to do. And nowadays I sometimes kind of wow people by some of the little scripts that I've written in PHP, MySQL and stuff. And they're like, how does that work? And it's just literally like one button, and I click a button and it does something, and they're like, whoa, that's so cool. And it's like, because they recognize like it's a simple thing that does something of value, and I've actually built it and I know how it works, and it's been working for a bunch of years without me having to update that script every 2 seconds, right?
That's the best.
So they're kind of like wowed by it, and so this is how software engineering should be, but it isn't.
Yeah, it's so much easier to yes, I'll just import this and get my thing going on, but then it becomes such a big pile of everything, and it might not be worth it. Yeah.
So conscious of time, to start slowly wrapping up, what is your focus for this year? What are you hoping that happens by the end of this year in your life and generally in the world?
We find more efficient ways in integrating into integrating ourselves into others' lives. Yeah, that's a that's what I'm trying to cause, at least. So, and that's what I'm trying to march people to do. So that, yeah, hopefully politics will be more reasonable too. Yeah, but we'll see.
Well, you guys got to start like speaking up a bit louder, because you're the people who are setting up the best of the standards, like the country where you live in and all that kind of Scandinavian sector is, the best in class. So like, teach us, man, teach us,
Well, I'll try.
Thank you so much, Sebastian, for chatting to me.
Thank you also, and have a good time.
You too. All the best. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.